I will now recognize the ranking member from the great state of Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to level set on a few things because my head has been spinning from some of the testimony that we have heard today. So just to level set really quickly, all of you have been involved with the criminal justice system in some way at some point in time in your lives. As it relates to January 6th, I just want to be clear. If anyone was incarcerated because of what happened on January 6th, they either went to trial or they entered pleas of guilty. Is that true or false? I'll start with you, Mr. Swecker.
I really don't know.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Mr.
Well,
Fahey?
there would be
yes or no, Mr. Fahey? I ain't got that much time.
It's not a yes or no.
Okay, then I'll move on. I'm going to
pre-trial,
reclaim my time. I'm going to reclaim my time.
That's a separate category, but the people that were sentenced and incarcerated, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Breen?
Yeah, I'm assuming that that was the process, although I understand the trials were not fair.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Mr. Ballou?
Every January 6th defendant who was incarcerated was charged or found guilty.
Thank you so much. It's interesting that we're not having a conversation around January 6th, and we're talking about school boards, and we're talking about people that never ended up being arrested. We're talking about the process seemingly working because there were people that felt like there should be an investigation, but ultimately they did not feel like there was anything that warranted going forward. But I can tell you for sure that we as Americans watched in despair because we did not know what was going to happen on January 6th. And as a result, over 1,000 people were arrested and or convicted. But the first day, the first priority that the sitting president had was to release these criminals. So while we're talking about whether or not we're going to be safe, I want to clarify these weren't little innocent folk that were running around and were persecuted as it was made out to be. In fact, we know that the day after one of those defendants got out, he was rearrested on a firearm charge. We know that soon after another defendant got out, he was arrested for child solicitation. We know that after another one got out, he was actually killed by law enforcement in a confrontation. And we know that after another one got out, she was sentenced because of a fatal car crash that she caused. So I want to be clear. In this country, we should believe in law and order. And I am going to be honest because much like Mr. Breen, the only time that I ever entered a criminal courthouse was in defense of someone, in defense of the accused. And it is because I believe in the Constitution. I believe that everyone has the right to due process. And as a defense attorney, I should show up ready, and I am hoping that the system works. But I say hoping because nothing on this earth is perfect. And one of the things that I actually used to take a lot of issue with was the fact that I did believe that there was a two-tier justice system. This is not something that the black community somehow woke up and said, oh, this is a new thing, although we're talking about it and we're meaning it in different ways because all of a sudden you had somebody with more power than arguably anyone in the world, and somehow Lady Justice found him too. And I say Lady Justice somehow found him because it was grand juries that had to indict him. And then ultimately, he was found guilty of 34 counts of felonies, at least in one courthouse. We know that the other cases never proceeded for various reasons. We also know that when he entered into civil courthouses, he was found liable for various things. Listen, I don't want to have the American people get it twisted. I don't want them to be confused and believe that just because somebody is a prosecutor or just because somebody brings a case, that somehow that is weaponization. If they bring it forward and if the justice system works the way that it's supposed to be, Mr. Breen, you talked about how your client was found not guilty, and I'm guessing that you accept that jury's verdict.
Certainly.
You accept that jury's verdict for your client?
Absolutely.
Okay, but I got to move on to a few other things really quickly. Christopher Wray. Mr. Ballou, do you know who that is?
Yes.
Was Christopher Wray appointed by Joe Biden?
No, he was appointed by President Trump.
He was appointed by President Trump. Now, Christopher Wray, for those that don't know, was the head of the FBI, And Christopher Wray, was he fired by Joe Biden just because Joe Biden was a Democrat that came in?
No.
In fact, Christopher Wray left the FBI when Trump threatened to fire him, but Christopher Wray still had time on the clock, didn't he?
He did.
So any prosecutions that took place, they actually took place under the Wray FBI department. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the last thing, I know, Mr. Chair, I'm running out of time, just real quick. The last thing that I want to ask, because we've talked about the mayor of New York, is he a Democrat or a Republican?
He's a Democrat.
And he was prosecuted under a Democratic DOJ or a Republican DOJ?
A Democratic DOJ.
Thank you so much, and I will yield. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.